Welcome back to the studio. And this morning, let's kickstart this conversation. This is one that has to do with health, and I'm talking about public health here. Recently, Nigeria has seen another outbreak of cholera with reported cases across different states of the country. And this is a source of concern given the fact that Nigeria uh, we're in the rainy season here in Nigeria, and that means water is flowing, and the transmission of this disease is on the high. That's why this morning, Dr. Emeka Anyi is joining us on the show to tell us how we can prevent or treat cholera. Good morning and welcome on the show, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Cholera. We're talking cholera this morning. Unfortunately, we are experiencing another outbreak of this disease. Uh, we have reported cases from Lagos and even Abuja here, there are concerns. Uh, Tell us, why is this? Why is it that almost every rainy season, cholera becomes a factor?
Well, truth is, cholera is a largely a seasonal illness that, like you rightly pointed out, I mean, like that was quite nice. You pointed that out that when it's transmitted by what we call a fecal oral route. What does that mean? It means that main source of infection is people that pass feces that contain the organism that causes cholera. The feces contaminate food, contaminate water, and then people now eat
The food
the
and the
food that is
water.
contaminated with the organism that causes cholera. So that is how it is transmitted. Okay. Now, when the rains come, there's a lot of open defecation in a lot of places in Nigeria. So feces that have been defecated in different places are washed by the rains from where they were passed to bodies of water that eventually become sources of drinking water. When people now drink from those sources without boiling them, because the organism incidentally is quite susceptible to boiling. When you boil, once you cook, heat would kill the organism. But when we don't, it's a problem. With rains come flooding. Sometimes you have the floods getting into sewage systems, septic tanks, flooding the place. Carrying all sorts of debris from within where the storage tanks onto the surface, and eventually they find their way into bodies of water. Okay, that eventually we still drink. In our environment, water is the main um, route of transmission. It's
Hmm.
largely waterborne. More civilized societies is foodborne, largely because they're taking care of water issues.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, the sources of water are likely cleaner. Okay, but for us, that's usually the main source.
So, doctor, let's talk about sanitation next. It looks like Nigerians do not have a healthy sanitation practice because you will find that, especially in the major cities, heaps of dirt, you will see drainages are clogged, you will see gutters are filled, and nobody is doing anything about it. Recently, I even came across a roadside market where the traders will put their wares, especially the bananas, the plantain and all of that inside a gutter, seal it so that when they come tomorrow, they will just bring it out from there and sell. Now, when I saw that, my thought process was supposing there's a rain fall and water has to pass through this place, and we don't know where this water is coming from. And after I left that place, as I was walking, not even up to let me say like 50 steps, a baby was defecating in that same gutter. So you can imagine down here is the bananas and this thing, and here is the baby defecating in that gutter, which means when the rain comes, definitely is going to that this thing. I was disturbed for days. In fact, up to now, I still have a certain way I feel when I think about bananas. But let's talk about Nigeria's sanitary habits. Do we have a good sanitary habits, and what should we do to improve on this so as to avoid cases like
I
this?
mean, you said it all already. Um, it's terrible. Okay. Now, for any time somebody, for instance, that has cholera passes stool and it gets into water, it increases the load of the concentration of the bacteria in the water
Mm.
by as much as 1,000 times.
Mm.
So that child passing stool there has so much increased the bacterial load of if that child had cholera, for instance, the bacterial load of the water in that gutter has so increased that touching the banana, I mean the banana plantain, whatever, I mean it's already contaminated. Yes, you're still going to peel it, which is good, okay, but it's already touched your hands. So now if you peel it while you're having it, it's still touching your hands. It's still contaminating the banana itself. We need to improve on these things, on our sanitary practices. We really need to improve. We need to have public toilets to start with. Those are really important. Public toilets. If we can't have water where the feces will flow across, you can have dry toilets. Okay, pit latrines. They contain these things, provided there's no overflooding that maybe gets into the tanks and like would eventually get to push out
The
the feces
contents of the tank.
contents collected there already. If it doesn't happen, it's not an issue. It is a better way of collecting than the worst part is open defecating. Defecating openly is a really dangerous thing to do. It's not just an eyesore. I mean, to the people seeing, I mean, to people watching. It's a real public health hazard, which we need to. I mean, we can't hope to win the war if we are not taking precautions regarding sanitation.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we've been talking about the cholera itself and the fact that these are the causes. Now let's look at treatment now. Fortunately, they say cholera is easily treated. Is it true?
Quite true.
Okay. So,
Quite true, especially if diagnosed early before complications develop.
okay.
Okay. Well, the slightly more complicated part is managing complications, depending on which one.
Okay.
Okay. One of the major complications may be maybe kidney failure from extreme dehydration.
Mm.
If that happens, that may be a little more complicated. But if when it gets to hospital early enough, as the first signs of illness, person gets to hospital, you may even all the medication the person may need may be oral. All the treatment the person may need may be oral. And if I may not even need admission. Because the truth is, as dangerous as it could be, not everybody that is infected is going to need, I mean, is going to come down ill in the first place.
Okay.
A good number of people that will be infected may not even need to, I mean, may not come down with any symptoms, even though they may still be passing the organism in their stools and are capable of infecting people, but they may not be sick on their own. Some of them are going to be mildly ill. And if they come to the hospital at that point where they're just mildly ill, haven't developed any serious complications, you can manage them quite easily. Oral medications, oral fluids, ORS, extremely important. Let me mention this here. Anybody having diarrhea, any kind of diarrhea, whether it's cholera or anything, one of the most important things is rehydration. ORS, as simple as it is, whether you're buying the
You're
ones
ready
in the
prepared
sachet
one in the sachet?
or you're going to prepare for yourself, preparing not difficult. 1 liter of water, you can estimate that. Get half a tablespoon of salt and about 6 tablespoons, flat tablespoons of sugar. Mix them together. Be taking it as frequently as you can, particularly for children.
Hmm.
It could make the difference between life and death. As you're preparing to get the child to hospital, like I would always suggest, particularly now in this cholera, now that we are talking about cholera outbreak, everyone's talking about Lagos, like Lagos is the only place. Lagos constitutes just about 30% of the cases we have in Nigeria. There are at least like 2 states have reported cases. At least, yeah, at least suspected cases. Um, it's been widespread. Okay, it's been widespread. So in this season, anybody that is passing stools quite rapidly, quite aggressively, should get to hospital, particularly children. In fact, children don't even wait until it gets to that point. Once it starts, get to hospital. That's what I would advise. Okay.
Okay.
And
What are the symptoms you should look out for in cholera that
oh, okay,
should
fine.
trigger your concern in taking either a child or yourself to hospital?
The first major symptom, the first symptom you notice in cholera that you should learn about is stooling. Yes, people have diarrhea from time to time. Frequent passage of loose stools occur, I mean, would occur in many people from time to time. When it is cholera, particularly the typical severe cholera, that passage occurs one very frequently. In fact, some people even believe it occurs continuously. That's why when you go to hospital and you see a cholera bed, it's actually like a hole made in the bed and then a bucket underneath, such that the person can just keep, because the person gets too weak and is losing too rapidly to be going to toilet and coming. So it's just there. That's how it's created because of the severity. So it can happen that frequently, and then when it passes large quantities. Like it said that like on the estimates, the amount passing about maybe 1 liter every hour. Yeah, that means over 20 liters in a day. That will so dehydrate the person. Okay, so when you see somebody stooling that profusely, then there's vomiting associated with it. Then there may be abdominal cramps. Typically, fever is not a symptom of cholera. When you begin to see fever, you should even begin to think of probably some other super infection. Okay, but this profuse watery diarrhea, usually pale cream colored. Okay, we call it rice water diarrhea. Okay, it looks like rice. I mean, when you're parboiling rice, the water you see
Yeah.
when yeah, that's how it looks. That's how the stools would look. Okay, so we call it rice water stools. Okay, so when you see that happening, large quantities, particularly in this period where we're having a lot of cases, and associated vomiting, probably abdominal pain, extreme dehydration, please hospital immediately.
All right.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the prevention in total. Apart from bettering our sanitary practices and conditions, apart from taking into cognizance the fact that we need to keep our drinking water safe and all of that, are there vaccines?
Um, yes, there are vaccines against cholera.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're not routinely available. The last I checked, Nigeria didn't even have. Yes, so I think somebody was saying, one of the officials, I'm not sure who it was saying we had ordered, because there's a pool, an international pool, a global pool for cholera vaccines, and it seems to be a bit inadequate at the moment. So there's a lot of politics here and there. Last I was reading about it, I think in the US it costs about $300 per per vial. So it's not exactly cheap.
$300 per
It's,
vial.
it's not that cheap, it's not that routinely available. So we can't rely on the vaccines for prevention. For us, there are a few other things we can do. Like I said, it usually comes with what we eat that we do not cook, what we eat that we do not boil. That is the problem. Let's start with water. If water is boiled, it doesn't matter the source, whether it's from a well, whether it's from a tap, whether it's from a stream, they can all get infected. That's the truth. So if it's going to get infected, or if you get water, rather than just drink it like that, I mean, straight from wherever you're getting it from, take the time to boil it, allow it to cool, then drink. Most likely, you have taken care of the organism, and the river cholera that causes the disease.
Well, cholera advisory there, the things that you should take cognizance of as it concerns preparing yourself against being infected. Thank you, Dr. Emeka, for coming on the show and for educating us on cholera and how we can prevent these things. Unfortunately, we have run out of time on the program this morning. We would have you come around some other time so that you can continue to educate and enlighten us. Like you heard, this is not the time for many of those luxuries that we like to indulge in. We need to be alive to experience these things when the times are better.
Yeah,
Right, doctor?
that is correct.
Yes. So let's quickly take the short break.